Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pastor Jerone TV. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. In this video today, I would like to share something with you about Jasmine Crockett, how she gets checked by Jake Tapper. Yes, fake Jake Tapper, the one who wrote the book about Joe Biden, that he didn't know that Joe Biden was mentally slipping, that he was declining. I mean, Jake Tapper didn't see what we saw. He was falling down, going upstairs. So I mean, Jasmine really gets checked on this. And I guess people like Jake Tapper and the mainstream media are having to do a little more forcefulness with the Democrats because President Donald Trump is winning so many lawsuits against them, which is a good thing. Before I got kicked off of YouTube, I was crying and yelling at the screen, at the top of my voice, telling President Donald Trump to file lawsuits against these liars and to stop this stuff. But Jasmine Crockett, she loses it. Because Jake Tapper asked her about the slavery comment. Let's get into it.
Politics Lead today, it was something of a down-to-the-wire decision for Texas Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett to run for re-election to her House seat or shoot for the U.S. Senate. The Congresswoman announced her bid for Senate on Monday, joining an already somewhat crowded Democratic field. Joining us now is Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. So congratulations on your announcement.
Thanks.
Your official announcement is just a video of you and an image of you while insults of President Trump of you play in the background. Why that decision? I mean, one of your opponents, Tallarico, he had a video, him with constituents, him with Texans. Why you solo?
Yes.
Well, listen, I would like to do a video. I'll have another video up on this particular campaign ad that Jasmine Crockett did, and why I think she did it, and what population of people she was trying to reach with this. And I do believe it was Black people, and I'll tell you if it was successful or not.
So there's a couple of things. Number one, I wanted to do something different because number one, in order to flip the state of Texas, we're gonna have to do something that we've never done. So I wanted to stay on brand with the fact that we would be different. I also wanted people to understand who the president sees as a real threat, and it is me. He also made it clear a number of times that he sees me as a leader. Those were his words, not mine. And so I wanted to do that. That's number one. Number two, I wanted to do a real announcement with actual people, nothing that was staged. I wanted the real people, and so it had to be in that moment. So I also wanted to make sure that we delivered a full speech that had all the substance there. So on that same day, if you were paying attention or if you were interested, you got the full meat of what it is that I want to do as the next senator in the state of Texas, as well as I did this with the people right there at home in my district.
So
I don't know if you saw that speech, her announcement speech for Senate. It failed to produce what she just said it was producing, that she wanted to give the people the full gamut of what she was planning to do. Absolutely, she failed. She fell way short of that. I'm running for U.S. Congress here in Arizona, and I know what it is to give a stump speech, a coming out speech, the announcement speech. It's got to hit hard and it's got to bring it. Mondani's a socialist, but he knows he's got the charisma and the know-how and the ability to touch people and to get their attention. And Jasmine Crockett totally failed at doing that. So, yeah, that speech was horrible, terrible.
last night you told Laura Coates on this network that you don't need to get all the Trump voters in order to win the Senate seat, assuming you win the Democratic nomination. We should note President Trump won Texas pretty handily by about 14 percentage points. So you don't need every Trump voter, but you need a big chunk of them. Explain the math to me. How does any Democrat, but especially one who is progressive and outspoken, how do you win over Trump voters?
So this is what I want to tell you about. There's two things that we need to talk about that are separate things that I think both of them are necessary to win. Number one, we actually have to turn out more voters. If you do the research on the state of Texas, we typically rank the lowest in voter turnout, period, in the country. We've got to get that up. I want to say the most recent one that I remember, maybe a little over 50% of people turned out. When we looked at Georgia and we saw Georgia go blue, what they were able to do is they were able to get more people to participate. So that's number one. So for me, it was always about expanding the electorate. Number two, this is a great talking point that we have heard over and over and over, that maybe you need to sound like a Trumper so you can get Trumpers to be on board. But what we know is is that there were Trump and Mondami voters. There were Obama and Trump voters. There were AOC and Trump voters. So a lot of people want to distill this down into something as simple as, oh, it's progressive or it's this. But the reality is that people vote for who they believe in. They vote for the people that they believe really care about bettering their lives. And what we know is apparent is that a lot of people have been turned off by Trump. When we look at Tennessee, I'm not asking you to look far north or over in California. When you look at the red state of Tennessee, he won that seat by over 20 points, yet it came within single digits. When you look at Mississippi, they flipped 2 Senate seats. When you look at Georgia on November 4th, they elected 2 Democrats statewide. So what I am saying is people are finally saying, you know what, even those that voted for Trump, because there's plenty that regret it.
Yeah.
And I think that
and when you look at Texas, you're not going to win in the general. She may win the primary, but she's not going to win in the general. Let me say this too, that this may just be a money run for Jasmine Crockett. See, when you're running for office, sometimes you need to run just to get your name out there. You know you're not going to win. You need to get your name out there. So you run for name recognition. Then you plan to run in 2 years or 4 years after that, once your name gets out there. But this one, her name is already out there, and everybody knows what she's about. That's why she's not going to win, because everybody sees what she's about. Can you recall any time on the floor, anytime she gave a speech, anytime she was in an interview, give any specifics on what she wanted to do for the American people, what she wanted to do for the people there in her district in Texas? She never said a word about making their lives better. She just became more ghetto. She just became more rich, buying homes and all that kind of stuff. But she doesn't have any solutions or ideas for the people. And this is a George Soros attention-getting run. And if she can get her name out there well enough and get George Soros's confidence, well, then he can pour millions into her campaign, and she can pour those millions right into her pocket.
Those people would be more willing to listen at this point. But I think you've got to expand the electorate, and you got to talk to anybody who actually says, you know what, he played us.
Let me tell you, let me ask you about a quote that you've made that has some Democrats worried about your ability to win statewide. In a December 2024 Vanity Fair profile, you talked about, quote, and I'm going to read a lot of the quote just to put it into context, quote, all the complexities within the Latino community. The immigration thing has always been something that has perplexed me about this community. It's basically like, I fought to get here, but I left y'all where I left y'all, and I want no more y'all to come here. If I wanted to be with y'all, I would stay with y'all, but I don't want y'all coming to my new home.
She's talking about Hispanic immigrants who made it over here and became citizens, who went through the process of immigration to come into this country, right? You know how long that process is, and it's very expensive. I didn't know it cost so much. They have to spend $20,000 or more to become a citizen in this country, right? They went through it. They did it. They did it the right way, and they don't have to look behind their back or not go out into the public. You know how much Donald Trump hate people of my color, because they did it right, and they don't have to worry about getting arrested unless they break a law, right? But she's talking about how the immigrants come over here, and they don't want illegal immigrants to come here. And she's like, I don't understand that mindset. And she's not playing around with that. She really does not understand that mindset. Jasmine Crockett is a real idiot.
It almost reminds me of what people would talk about when they would talk about kind of like slave mentality and the hate that some slaves would have for themselves. It's almost like a slave mentality that they have. Now about
that they have. She's talking about the Mexicans again. And let me tell you something, Texas is growing, it's expanded with the Hispanic voter, and the population there is booming. And if she thinks she's going to win this thing by putting down the Hispanics, she's got another thing coming, because there's not enough blacks in Texas that's there in the state of Texas that's going to get her over the hump. Okay? It's not going to happen. And to talk about this slave mentality, people are sick and tired of the identity politics. People want their lives to be prosperous. If you want to win a campaign, talk about what you're going to do to make their lives better. Bringing in jobs, doing stuff for young people that's going to get them on track, learning a trade, stuff like that. But this right here is not going to get you votes, not in this day and time, because people are burnt out on all of this stuff. And she's talking about the slave mentality, how people hate themselves, how the slaves hated their own kind. Don't you ever. And so Jasmine Crockett is going to find it hard getting the Hispanic vote after this.
At the time that was published last year, Around 1 million Latino voters in Texas were voting for Trump. Do they all have slave mentality?
No, and that's not what that said at all, to be clear. It did not say that every Latino.
Yeah, it did. It did say that. Let's see. Let's try to read this again. And I'm not going to read all the y'alls that, Jake Tapper just read. Hearing him talk about all y'all. It almost reminds me of what people would talk about when they would talk about kind of like slave mentality and the hate that some slaves would have for themselves. It's almost like a slave mentality that they, the immigrants, the Hispanic Americans, that they have a slave mentality because they don't want illegal immigrants coming into this country.
Some slaves would have for themselves. It's almost like a slave mentality that they have. Now, about the time that was published last year, around 1 million Latino voters in Texas were voting for Trump. Do they all have slave mentality?
No, and that's not what that said at all, to be clear. It did not say that every Latino has that type of mentality.
No, but the ones that vote for people who believe in strong or Trump's immigration policy.
They believe in strong what, Jake? Say it. Say it. Jake had to catch himself. Hold on, watch this. They believe in strong.
Trump's even in strong or
what do they believe in? They believe in having strong, secure borders. They believe in strong laws and order. They believe in traditional families, and they have strong religious and Christianity and faith in Christ. Okay, these are the things that President Donald Trump ran on, and he promised to restore it. And that's why he got their vote. It had nothing to do with them hating their own kind. You know what I'm talking about? If my own kind broke into my house and did some and broke and stole some stuff out of my house, hey, I want them to be arrested. And if I call the police and get them arrested, it doesn't mean that I have a slave mentality and I hate my own kind. And when the illegals came into this country, they broke in and they're stealing our wealth, stealing our increase. It doesn't mean the Hispanics don't want them here and they hate their own kind. They just want people to follow the law.
Trump's immigration policies.
So I don't believe that the people that voted for Trump believe in what they're actually getting. That is number one. What Trump said is that he was going to kick out the bad guys. And that's what I was talking about. I've been down to the border. I've been down to South Texas. I've campaigned down there. And so I am talking about exactly what was going on when I was down there on behalf of the Beto campaign. In fact, when he was running for governor, I was sent as a surrogate. And I said, talk to me about what is going on. Why is it that they believe that they can win Latinos down here? Like, I don't understand what's happening. And there were people that
she don't understand why Republicans believe that they can get the Latino vote. Do you understand what's this Democrat mentality? The minority people who are Democrat politicians, they don't understand why minorities vote for Republicans. They feel like, okay, if you are a minority, automatically you are supposed to vote for the Democrats because the Democrats have this fake love for minorities. When they were the party, of course, to fight for the Jim Crow laws, to fight to keep slavery here, right? And they're the party that's pushing this identity politics. She's doing it right here with the slave talk. Identity politics is not a winner anymore. Folks want to live their lives, raise their families, pay their bills, get jobs, right? And live in a wonderful community. And it doesn't matter if a person's black, white, Chinese, Mexican, nothing. It doesn't matter. People get along. And people love each other. People have friends from across racial barriers. But the Democrats don't want people to have that.
They were saying that they had fought and they had done everything the right way and that there were bad people that were coming that were doing it the wrong way. And so they were saying, no, we left. And I mean, when you think about people that are leaving asylum, they are leaving areas and situations that they feel like are harmful to them. So yes, they're like, no.
So if they're leaving a harmful situation, does that mean we owe it to our families and to our neighbors and to our country to bring them in and let them have everything for free? The reason why these countries are messed up is because they voted for what they got, right? They turned their countries into trash by voting for terrible politicians, and that's what you have to live with. You have to live with your own mess. All right. If you're seeking asylum because of torture, like what's going on in Africa, right? The Muslims going after Christians, a just asylum case, right? If they were coming here and seeking asylum and we gave them and we can see and know that they're being persecuted, yeah, that's asylum. But coming here because your country is poor, because you voted for a bad politician now who became a dictator, no, we don't know. Nuh-uh. Because you're going to bring that same thing, that you're going to bring that same mentality here to this country. Like a lot of people from California that's coming here in Arizona or to other states in Texas and in Florida. And they're making certain areas and districts in those states blue with a blue mindset.
I don't want to be in this dangerous situation. And that's what I meant. But at the same time, I knew what Trump meant because Trump had a record. Trump had a record of locking up kids and putting them in cages. So
Obama had the cages, but they'll never say that. And this is the mark of a real true liar. A real liar will always ignore the truth, and they'll push that lie and say it and say it and say it until they force people to believe it.
I knew what Trump meant, and so that's why it wasn't making sense to me. And ultimately right now, I just came from a joint hearing that we were having on the Senate side. It's the Senate as well as the House. The first time I've had a joint hearing ever since I have been in the House. And I was listening to Latino American citizens that have been arrested by this regime. Some of those people may have voted for Trump. I don't know. But they agree that what he's doing now is wrong. And it's about right versus wrong and not right versus left. And he sold them a bag of goods. And I knew that that's what he was selling because I knew his record.
All right, Jasmine Crockett, we'll leave it there. But
yeah, I'm glad to see that Jake was, is finally, trying to be a man, trying to be a journalist and check these people. And he checked her and she choked. I don't believe her answers were even close to being right. And because she's not right herself. She's not right within herself because she has a Democrat mindset. Well, let me know what y'all think, how she did. And I'll see y'all on the next video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, and I'll see you on the next one.